ABC 10 News at 7 starts now.
And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune, I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there, be careful.
A still infectious President Trump is back at the White House tonight. The president was flown back from Walter Reed Medical Center today. He immediately took his mask off after going up the stairs to the balcony outside. The president later tweeted out a video telling the public not to be afraid of COVID-19 because he feels great after getting medical care. He also defended his decision to continue with business as usual during a pandemic.
I led. Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay.
The president says he plans to attend next week's debate against Joe Biden. And early voting is now underway in San Diego. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt. We're just 29 days from Election Day. 10 News anchor Steve Atkinson spent the day at the Registrar of Voters' office for a look at how they're gearing up for a flood of ballots.
The pandemic has changed so much in the way we vote. It's all about keeping you safe in this pandemic. That's why I'm wearing a mask here at the Registrar of Voters office. So you have 29 days to mail in your ballot if you wish to do that. If you want to vote in person, you can do that as well. There are going to be 235 super polling locations all around the county. So much has changed, so the people here at the county just want to make sure you have everything you need to know to have your vote count. That is the sound of election progress in a pandemic.
We have two sorters, and each of the respective sorters run 44,000 envelopes per hour.
Long before we ever heard the phrase COVID, Michael Vu and his team were planning for an election that would be heavily dependent on mail-in ballots.
We have a rich history of voting by mail.
In fact, 78% of San Diego County registered voters already voted by mail prior to this November election. The other 22% will now be receiving their own mail ballots this week as required by state law.
What's happening on the national scale is not happening here in San Diego.
While San Diego County has always been ahead of the election curve, all of this is in response to a safe and valid election during the pandemic. It's what Vu calls unprecedented.
Something like what we're doing, you don't do in a 4 to 6 month period. You generally do it in a 4 to 6 year period.
And yet, we adapt quickly. For those who still want to vote in person, instead of 1,600 smaller local precincts, there will now be 235 super polling locations, each with socially distanced and other health protocols. And instead of 1 day of voting, you now have 4 days.
You don't just have a 13-hour window on Election Day on November 3rd. You now have until on October 31st when we open these locations, all the way through the close of the polls on November 3rd at 8 p.m. to go out and vote.
Still, Vu's campaign is vote safe, and he's encouraging voters to use the mail ballot option, despite the unfounded claims from the president.
This is going to be a fraud.
Vu wants to assure all San Diegans your vote will count.
We've built the infrastructure, we've built the processes and protocols to ensure the security of every single ballot and that there is utmost integrity in that process.
And if you're one of those people like me that enjoys the best of both worlds and you just want to drop off your ballot as well, you can do that too. There's going to be 126 mail drop-off locations all around the county. There will also be a monitor there to make sure that you have signed and sealed your ballot as well. At the Registrar of Voters office, Steve Atkinson, ABC 10 News.
So here's a review of those voting deadlines. Early voting started today. The deadline to register to vote is October 19th, and your registration must be postmarked by that date. After that time, you can still vote conditionally. In-person voting begins October 31st at any one of the county's 235 polling places. Election Day is November 3rd. A proposition on the November ballot would effectively eliminate the state's ban on affirmative action. That means public agencies and universities could make decisions based on promoting diversity. ABC 10 News reporter John Horn spoke to those on both sides of this issue.
I was able to go to Stanford and prove myself, and then go on to Georgetown and UCLA Law School on a full ride scholarship, because I was given that initial first opportunity.
Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez says she was one of the last to benefit from affirmative action in California. It allowed race, sex, and ethnicity to be a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions. California voters banned the practice via Prop 209 in 1996.
California's ban on affirmative action programs has locked out small business owned by women and people of color from billions of dollars in contracting opportunities. It has hurt students of color applying to both the Cal State and the UC California university systems, and it's limited access to good wages and benefits for many thousands of women and people of color.
Next month, California voters will decide whether to repeal that ban on affirmative action via Prop 16. Proponents say it would help level the playing field and reduce the gender wage gap. Opponents say Prop 16 allows discrimination and that there's already assistance available for people who need a boost.
It's true that we need to do things to help people who haven't gotten the same opportunities, but that's true whether they are African American, Latino, Asian, white, American Indian. We need to do things to help people that need a leg up. But let's not judge it on the basis of race.
State universities, for instance, can consider low income or being the first in a family to attend college in admissions decision making. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
Last week, our scientific ABC 10 News Union Tribune poll found Prop 16 leading 40 to 26%, with 30% still undecided. Turning back to coronavirus, the county reported 224 new cases today, bringing our total to 48,600. There were no new deaths reported, which is typical for a Monday. That total remains 803. A new free coronavirus testing location is up and running in Chula Vista. Appointments are not required, and the process only takes about 5 to 10 minutes. The South Bay is one of the COVID-19 hotspots in the county. The testing site at the South Chula Vista Library opened just yesterday. A lot of people are already using it.
We anticipated we could test up to 200 individuals. But we really thought the first day, it's just starting, that maybe we get 50. Well, we actually had 245 tests given yesterday,
The new testing site at the library is open Sunday through Thursday from 12:30 to 8 p.m.
When he yanked me out of the car by my braids, I saw how angry and how upset he was.
Calls for a local sheriff's deputy to be fired over accusations he roughed up a black woman during a traffic stop. Team 10 investigator Adam Rakusin has details and the sheriff's department's response.
Hair torn out, bruises on her arms and wrists. These images document the aftermath of what Shainita Phillips Abu describes as a violent encounter with the San Diego County Sheriff's deputy.
I'm afraid for my life. I'm afraid to be targeted again.
Standing outside the Sheriff's Department headquarters, surrounded by supporters, Abu described last week's encounter in detail. ABC 10 News is not naming the alleged deputy involved at this point in the investigation. Abu says she was pulled over on the 67 shortly after leaving the Lakeside Post Office.
He told me, I'm pulling you over because you have a third brake light out.
Abu says during their conversation, her phone rang.
Started to yell, get off the phone, put the phone down now. And at that point, I became afraid.
She says the deputy went from the passenger side to the driver's side of her vehicle and tried to get in.
I continued to record, and my husband called me. And he told me, stop calling people, stop calling people.
Abu claims the deputy slapped her cell phone to the ground and got her out of the car.
He pulled me by my hair and yanked me out of my car by force. At this point, he already had my arm. I have bruises all over my arm.
She says she was handcuffed and put in the back of a car for hours. During that time, Abu says she was taken to the Las Colinas detention facility, then to a hospital, then back to jail. She says 6 hours later, she was released at a trolley stop and handed this piece of paper, reading there's insufficient grounds for making a criminal complaint against the person that's arrested.
Please stop assaulting people Stop abusing your power.
While Abu did give us these pictures of her injuries, we haven't seen or gotten that cell phone recording she mentioned. ABC 10 News also asked the Sheriff's Department for the deputy's body camera recording. They said they won't be releasing it at this time. A spokesperson did say the department is aware of the incident and have initiated an investigation into the matter. They do not want to come to any conclusions until they have all the facts.
We want you to stop touching the bodies of black women, black men, and black children.
On Monday, Abu walked into the Sheriff's Department and filed a complaint against the deputy. Adam Rakusin, ABC 10 News.
The department says the deputy's status remains unchanged. Abu says that her car was towed. She had to pay nearly $300 to get it back. And the road is clear tonight on Highway 78 after a semi-truck with a CAL FIRE engine on the back overturned. Both vehicles tipped over this morning, blocking traffic in both directions near the 78 and Salmon Road north of Ramona. The tow truck driver went to the hospital with minor injuries. Took all day to clean up the spilled fuel and get the vehicles off the road.